many of them. So just who is this man that has literally brought the world to a standstill? Well, KTN's Rita Tanina now looks back on the life that began inside a humble clan and grew to catch global attention.
The world's most celebrated statesman. The world's most famous prisoner.
Have a nice time, huh?
African icon. Anti-apartheid hero. The curtains have come down on Nelson Mandela, or Madiba, as he was fondly referred to by many South Africans. Life for the African legend began in Umtata village, Transkei in the Eastern Cape on the 18th of July, 1918. Rolihlala Dalibunga was born into the Madiba tribal clan of the Thembu people to Chief Henry Mgadla Mandela. Given his name Nelson by his teacher, he went to the Hilltown Methodist boarding school. Later, he joined the University College of Hot Hair before enrolling at the University of Witwatersrand to study law. He graduated in 1942. A year later, when he turned 25, Mandela began what would later define his life. He joined the African National Congress as an activist and co-founded the ANC Youth League in 1944. With widespread racial segregation in South Africa, Mandela distinguished himself as a strong opponent of the apartheid regime. The 1952 Defiance Campaign propelled him to the limelight as he kicked off a countrywide resistance campaign against discrimination. He was given a suspended sentence for taking part in the campaign, and later a ban that confined him to Johannesburg for 6 months was imposed, but he did not relent. He teamed up with Oliver Tambo and kept the campaign against apartheid alive. The struggle was renewed in 1955 during the Congress of the People, a gathering that saw Mandela alongside 155 other activists charged with treason. The trial for treason went on for 4 years, after which the charges against Mandela were dropped. As the struggle gained momentum, Mandela married his second wife, Winnie Madikizela, in 1958. Away from his new marriage, the apartheid resistance was about to enter an ugly phase, escalating tensions with the apartheid regime. In 1960, 69 blacks were killed in the infamous Sharpeville massacre. The ANC was banned following the killings. Mandela, who launched an economic sabotage campaign against the government, was briefly detained before he went underground, from where he pushed for the setting up of a military wing within the ANC. In 1961, Umkhonto we Sizwe, the military wing of the ANC, was born. In 1962, Mandela left the country for military training in Algeria. Upon his return, he was captured and charged with leaving the country illegally and attempting to overthrow the government. Mandela was convicted and jailed for 5 years in November 1962. While serving his sentence, he was charged in the Rivonia trial and in the winter of 1964 was convicted of treason and sentenced to life in prison. He started his prison years in the infamous Robben Island prison, a maximum security facility on a small island off the coast of Cape Town. Confined to a small cell, the floor for his bed, a bucket for a toilet, he was forced to do hard labor in a quarry, was allowed one visitor a year for 30 minutes. His imprisonment saw him become a worldwide symbol of resistance to racism and later the world's most famous prisoner. When in prison, Mandela rejected offers which included one by P.W. Botha for freedom if he renounced violence. He remained in prison on Robben Island for 18 years. But even as Mandela and other ANC leaders languished behind bars or lived in exile, South Africa's black township children helped sustain the resistance. In 1980, an international campaign to release Mandela was launched. The international community tightened sanctions against the apartheid regime, and it paid off. On the 2nd of February 1990, South African President F.W. de Klerk finally lifted the ban on the ANC and other anti-apartheid organizations. And after nearly 3 decades behind bars, Nelson Mandela walked to freedom from the Victor Verster prison on the 11th of February 1990. Emerging as the world's most famous prisoner, mediator, philosopher, and president in waiting.
Africa!
Following his release, Mandela and his delegation agreed to the suspension of the armed struggle.
There are sports teams that were supposed to come to South Africa. They have not done so because of the state of emergency. I invite all of them to come to South Africa, irrespective of the state of emergency.
Nelson Mandela then midwifed the rebirth of South Africa.
Let us stretch out our hands to those who have beaten us and to say to them, we are all South Africans. We have had a good fight, but now this is the time to heal the old wounds and to build a new South Africa.
In 1993, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and a year later, in 1994,
so help me God,
was elected the first black president of South Africa, marking a new dawn for the country. With the transition from apartheid, he oversaw national reconciliation and initiated programs to address issues such as disparities in wealth. In 1998, he married his third wife, Graça Machel. But his decision to step down as president after just 5 years won him even more international respect and admiration. He retired to a quiet life, retreating from the public limelight amid failing health.
I am now retiring from retiring. And this is for real. And I hope you'll allow me to rest. And if I have to call, I'll call myself. I would prefer that nobody should call me. Happy
birthday to you! 9 years after his retirement, the world would mark his 90th birthday.
I'm happy that I've lived until now, because there are not many people who look after themselves and who can live for such a long time.
Nelson Mandela, Soweto's favorite son, the little boy from Transkei, turned out to be one of the iconic figures of the 20th and the 21st centuries, the world's most celebrated statesman. Rita Tinina, KTN.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
A life of resilience and a never say die attitude, something that we should all emulate from this great leader. And we want to know your thoughts, your